Hey people of VC, it's Andy, Cloudy, Mulder. Contest entry time for Farley this time, and it's not often I do a contest entry, and I've already admitted defeat. I've just watched the vinyl transmissions entry, and it has won not just this contest, surely it has won every contest that ever should have been. I think anybody who has ever done a contest needs to pull back their prize and send it to Chris at the Vinyl Transmission channel. I've just been blown away. So what I want you to do is to stop watching this entry. It's just no good. It's just not going to be good. Compared to Chris's, it's... I don't even know why I'm bothering, to be honest. So please do yourself a favour. Stop watching this. Go and look up Chris at the Vinyl Transmission, his 500 subs entry for Farley, and you will not be disappointed. Thank you. Bye. But I guess if you're still watching, I guess Farley's still watching because you're such a nice guy. You'll probably still be watching anyway because you'll feel sorry for me and you'll want to see what I'm going to come up with. So 500 subs, awesome achievement, awesome channel, a great VC buddy. So you've come up with this rule of 5 where you've actually asked 6 questions. Yeah, so rule of 5 with 6 questions. First couple of questions, I don't know if these are in the order that you asked for, but I'm going to struggle on, and that's the 5 favourite bass players and 5 favourite guitarists. I've always looked at bands as the complete package. I've never really had favourite instrumental players. All I could basically come up with, I guess, from this is a list of my top 5 favourite bands, and that's probably cheating a little bit, but there we go. I have no musical ability myself. I could play a mean triangle at this school orchestra, but that's about it. And then I was told when to ding the thing. But for completeness, I'm going to answer you. So my 5 favourite bass players. Number 5, my best mate Dave, who was in a band called Reindeer Brigade when I was at college in Liverpool. Great, he's my best mate, so I've got to say that. Number 4, Frank Bello from Anthrax. Number 3, Jack Donovan from Elder. Elder is kind of like a stoner psych progressive rock band. I've seen them a couple of times, and their bass player Jack Donovan is just he kind of steals the stage, and he's awesome. It's just not often I think there's many gigs you go to where you remember the bass player, because usually bass players fall into the background, but Jack Donovan is visually he's great and complements the sound that Elder do superbly. In a similar light, I've gone for Nibs Carter of Saxon in second. Again, a guy who actually looks like he thoroughly enjoys being on stage, and yeah, it's a spectacle just to watch as well. And number 1 has to be Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. Again, somebody who, he's not only the leader of that band, but he sort of he commands he's got a commanding presence on the stage, and if you've ever seen them live, you'll know what I mean. Guitarists, I'm really going to struggle. I'm going to put Murray and Smith. I think Andy's Final Doll did the same. That's going to be my number 1, and then kind of anything else after that. I'm not really. I like guitar wankery like Malmsteen. They're probably really technical guitarists. I mean, you guys know the bands I like, and I like the guitarists in them, not because those guitarists are in them, because I just like the band. No else to say. So I'm going to cop out and not really answer that one. Sorry, Farley. But then, Final Transmission's already won this, hasn't he? Vocalist. Now, vocalist is something that I've got a lot more opinion on. Vocalists for me make or break the band. There's some bands I can listen to, it'd be a great intro, I think I'm going to really like this, and the vocalist kicks in, I think, no, not at all. So, 5 vocalists that I liked most of the things they've ever done. Graham Bonnet, obviously with Rainbow, Alcatraz, Graham Bonnet Band, a little bit more recently, saw him live recently. Perhaps not as good as he used to be, but always loved his voice and the albums he's been on. Number 4, I've gone for David Lewis Gedge, who's the vocalist for one of my favourite bands, The Wedding Present. Not a metal band, more of an alternate indie rock band. He would probably admit, I don't know if he watches my videos, probably not, that he's probably not got the most tuneful voice, but just the emotion that he sings with and the type of songs they sing, always love that. Dio, masterclass in vocals across Rainbow, Dio and Black Sabbath. Can't really fault it. Second, I would go for James Dean Bradfield of the Manic Street Preachers. Absolutely love that guy's voice. Always has. Incredible range and absolutely captivating vocals. And number 1, I'm going to go for Bruce Dickinson as well, because that was really my... when I heard him on The Trooper, that was kind of my real introduction to... understanding my own music tastes, and always enjoyed his vocals ever since. Dead People, that was the next one. I forgot to put. I'm just going to grab a couple albums for this. So, where are we? Right. So first up, I would say Lemmy. Who wouldn't want to hang out with Lemmy? Dead or alive, but he's just as cool dead, even in a bar. I would do that. Second up, I would choose Joey Ramone. What's not like about Joey Ramone? My third choice would probably be Dee Dee Ramone. I bet he's got a few stories to tell, and sorely missed. Fourth choice, I would probably go for Johnny Ramone. Taskmaster behind the Ramones. What can I say? And you can probably guess that Tommy Ramone will be next. So that'd be my 5. The 4 guys from the Ramones and Lemmy. Albums that have been influential for me. I think I've got that right. Doesn't so much matter because only you're watching Farley. You've heard it wrong. First up, I'm going to go with Manic Street Preachers' debut album. This was massively influential for me. This was 1992. Actually, that was a little bit earlier. So I was. So at the end of the 80s, 90s, I was weaned off metal to some degree. Change in circumstances, change in lifestyle, friends, where I lived, immersed in a college life, and I got sort of quite heavily into more of an indie rock scene than metal. And whereas when I was listening to metal, I was the only one of my friends that really was into that. When I got into more alternate indie rock, I was still one of the only friends that was into the Manic Street Preachers. For years, I collected their singles. They were one of these bands that came out and made bold statements that they were never going to release an album, and for the first 2 or 3 years they had about 6 or 7 singles, which I've got all of, but then they came out and they released this 18 track. It's kind of it's raw, it's a bit punky, it's a bit glammy, it's rock and roll, baby. Manic Street Preachers, Generation Terrorists. Second up, the first Ramones album I ever heard, which again swayed my head a little bit from the metal side. I've shown this before. Too Tough to Die. Got Richie Ramone on drums. I think that was his first album he was on. I saw Richie Ramone recently in a concert, and it was superb. It was great. I got picked up his latest single, I Fix This, signed as well, which is quite nice. Next up, and I've shown this one a number of times as well, I mentioned that David Lewis Gedge was one of my favourite vocalists. This is one of the sort of life-defining albums for me. When Present George Best. It's an album I listen to a hell of a lot. I know it like the back of my hand, and it's a really great alternate rock indie record, and just the way that Gedge plays guitar on this is, I've always kind of thought this has been more sort of indie thrash, but I guess you'd have to see videos and to understand what I really mean from that, but it means a lot to me, that one. Why have I picked A Matter of Life and Death from Iron Maiden? I could have easily picked something from the early 80s, but you all know I was a metalhead earlier on. This is the album that got me back into listening to metal, really, and rekindle my roots. I only had it on CD at the time, but killer album, probably one of my favourite 21st century Maiden albums. The last one I went for was Ram. This is Subversion, and the reason I picked this one is this is kind of more my introduction to the modern heavy metal bands that are out at the moment. I tried a few like Skullfist and Cauldron, and they never really clicked. But when I listened to Ram, I suddenly thought, well, wait a minute, there are some modern metal bands out there that I can really dig, and I've discovered a lot more since these guys, and I think I have just about everything from Ram now, so absolutely killer stuff. Question 6 of your Big 5 contest. Movies that move me. First up, Andromeda Strain is a movie I can watch again and again and again. I love the 70s sci-fi theme to it. It's based on a story by Michael Crichton, the guy that did Jurassic Park. But it's a killer movie. It's a killer book as well. Second up, Battle Royale, Japanese film. It's ridiculous to the extreme. Set in the future where kids have gone crazy, so the government decides to choose one school every year and one class every year, put them on an island, and basically get them to kill each other, which is obviously rather gruesome and shocking, but it's done in a way that only Japanese movie makers can do, and it's if you like Japanese movies, check it out. If you don't like Japanese movies, you were just going to think the fuck and not get it. The next up, third one, is actually 3 movies together, so that's Aliens, Lethal Weapon and Terminator. They're all those 3 films that I kind of really got into in a big way at the same time. They're fairly interchangeable with me. I could quite happily watch them over and over again, and I have done over the years. You don't have to think too much when you watch them. Aliens just from the drama, Lethal Weapon for the cheesy humour, and Terminator just because it's awesome, basically. Number 4, The Goonies. Who doesn't like The Goonies? I could have put Back to the Future in here, but I will put Goonies ahead of Back to the Future. It's a fantastic adventure movie, and it's not just for kids. It's perfectly good for adults as well. And finally, ones that move me, I've put The Pianist in as well, which is Adrian Brody. The actor set in World War II, about a pianist, and basically struggles through the war and is internment in a concentration camp, or basically trying to avoid the concentration camps. Really, really gritty, moving movie, and it's not entertainment in terms of enjoyable watching, but it's very enjoyable watching, if that makes sense. Anyway, Farley, that's my 6 answers to your 5 big 5 contest. You need to work on those maths, buddy. I realise that you won't have enjoyed this as much as Chris is. I've not enjoyed making this as much as I would have making Chris's. So check out Farley's channel. Absolutely great dude. And oh yeah, I have to do an impression as well to get something else. So I'm going to do an impression of one of Farley's favourite band's vocalists. So this is my impression of Shane MacGowan from the Pogues. Fuck.